Setting your value in the industry, pricing strategies and salon policies for aspiring PMU artists. Hi, I'm Shareen Adair, a scientist turned perma makeup artist for the last 18 years, have created several successful businesses, and for the last 10 years, I'm focused on teaching business and PMU skills to artists all around the world. I had to push restart twice with the economy and then the second time with the pandemic. Each time, I only knew better how to start. So if you are an ambitious PMU artist or one in making, I'm here to give you a step-by-step actionable items so you navigate through most common challenges that I've learned through my almost 2 decades of experience. Let's navigate the complex world of setting prices in the perma makeup industry, setting salon policies as a new PMU artist, from scheduling and payment procedures to client consultations and aftercare protocols. We'll discuss essential guidelines to ensure smooth operations and exceptional customer service. I will also recommend some resources and reading to further enhance your understanding of salon management and client relations. So whether you're just starting out or looking to refine your pricing model, the insights I will provide will help you set your value and thrive in this competitive industry. First, let's talk about scheduling systems and appointment policies. Consistent and efficient scheduling is essential for maintaining a well-run business and maximizing your productivity as a PMU artist. By this time, you may have already invested in a simple website, written your bio, created a consistent brand and social media. Now it's time to establish clear guidelines for booking appointments, rescheduling, and cancellations, and communicate these policies to your clients upfront. So first, let's look at what kind of booking system do you need in your practice. There are a lot of free options out there, and I would like you to look into all of these options and choose one that's best for you. Features to look into the software are a booking system, which is also called point of sale or POS system. The first thing that is very crucial is to find the cost of transaction. What does it cost you per transaction to use that software? So make sure you understand your cost of transaction. Number 2, the software needs to be user-friendly and should be easily be able to connect on your website so that clients can book through your website as well. Number 3, there should be an ability to take deposits from clients when booking the appointments. Number 4, there should be an ability for that software to give automated reminders and send out post-appointment thank you or reviewing options for your clients as well. An organized business from day one is very important to track your income and expenses, so your software should have the ability to give you that reports as well, so you know which are your most booked months and which are your slower periods. That is why you really need to start with a POS system or a booking software with your business that is comprehensive in those areas and can help you like a business partner, giving you a clear picture and also assisting you in taking all those essentials from clients. Moreover, you want to also have a policy agreement option, meaning that a client has to consent and agree those policies before they're booked. I like to emphasize here that booking online or via a link makes life a lot easier because you can ask your clients to read the business policies. Client booking policies should have 5 main areas where you need to be very specific about your business, and I will get into those as well. The first thing is your cancellation policy. Cancellation policies are pretty specific to every individual. I like to emphasize here that booking online or via link makes life easier because you can ask your clients to read the business policies and consent to that. Now, what do your client booking policies look like? Client booking policies should have 5 main areas where you need to be very specific about your business. The first and a very important one is the cancellation policy. I personally like to have at least 72 hours for cancellation. A cancellation policy keeps your clients in check also because they don't want to lose out on a deposit. At the same time, it also keeps your business in line because you know when to book an appointment, and if somebody has canceled, how do you can book that slot up again. The second is the no-show policy, which I am very specific about. If somebody no-shows, I will charge them a full price because that is my time being utilized for doing nothing. And at the same time, a client should respect your time and they should respect your business. So having a no-show policy and being very strict and specific about it for your client is imperative. The third one is your refund policy. Now, technically, I do not refund anybody after a service has been completed. And should be a standard. However, in some exceptions I've made because I found the client to be very difficult, or I found that this could potentially go to a legal claim, or I think that a client can be very nasty at times. So I've really refunded that amount. However, I am also very strict in my forms that I take that there is a no refund policy. Number 4 is your salon etiquette policy, meaning if your client should arrive 10 minutes before the appointment, if there is any time if the client is running behind, then I have the right to say no to a client. By meaning behind, I would say I give them about 20 minutes grace period. However, if I have a dead stop at a certain amount of time, I do let them know that I will stop at this time because you are running behind and that should not overflow into my next client. So having a salon etiquette policy is very important. For one of the other things that I like to write, and then there's no kids allowed, no animals allowed, no cell phones used during the procedure. So all of those things are in my salon etiquette policy. And the last and the most important one is the follow-up or a touch-up policy. I'm very strict about the fact that I should see them in 6 weeks. If I don't see them in 6 weeks, then the price usually tends to increase. If they come anywhere between 15 weeks, the price increases. If they take 3 months or more to come back, then at that time I will charge them for almost a full price of procedure because I know how skin fades and I'm very clear about this when I'm booking the client. These 5 areas I recommend to cover in order to make your client respect your business boundaries. These policies should also be added in your intake form so that they sign it in person as well. That will be very handy if a client decides to charge back on a card or disputes of any sort. Those written forms should be kept with you for about 3 years, and it should clearly indicate that this is a non-refundable service and the client has completely agreed and signed for this service. As a new PMU artist, it's crucial to establish clear and transparent payment policies as well to ensure timely and hassle-free transaction. Determine your pricing structure, which I will get into later, but to be clear on the accepted payment methods, the deposit requirements, and communicate these details clearly to your client before their appointment. Another essential aspect of setting salon policies is client consultations. Before performing any permanent makeup procedure, it is important to conduct thorough consultation to assess your client's needs, expectations, and suitability for the treatment. Develop a comprehensive consultation process that includes discussing treatment options, potential risks, and aftercare instructions, and obtain informed consent from the clients before proceeding. Now, one of the practice that I like to call in a client for no charge consultation at least a week before the procedure is set up. In an initial phase of building my clientele, this practice really helped me to decide if the client and I were a perfect match. I offered free consultation for 30 minutes, took a ton of pictures, mapped the client, I showed her the value of my expertise, and booked her with a deposit to confirm the appointment. It was the perfect time for me to know if I need to buy any additional pigments for her skin type, or if she was on any medication, then I need to take a doctor's note. By taking a deposit at that time that was non-refundable, I also increased my cash flow and set expectations right. There is a really nice book that I would recommend by John Somers Flanagan and Rita Somers Flanagan called Consultation Skills for Mental Health Professionals. Even though it's geared to a different industry, but some of the principles in that book are so handy, especially when it comes to having clear insight and effective communication with your client. And there are some engagement strategies as well. This is the perfect time to upsell any ancillary services that you may perform, bundle offers or new product or new techniques or new styles or removal options. You need to talk to your client at that time of the consultation. Finally, let's talk about aftercare protocols. Providing a clear and comprehensive aftercare instruction is essential for ensuring optimal results and client satisfaction. So at this point, I need you to develop a detailed aftercare protocol for each perma makeup procedure you offer and provide your clients with written instructions and product recommendation to support their healing process. Usually, I have them sign off on the form that they have received an aftercare form as well, so that when they leave, they know that they have the form. So later on, they cannot go back and tell me, I did not get a form, because they've signed on that. Ask them for pictures during the healing process. That's another way for me to ensure that they're taking care of their perma makeup. And also, I record the process and book them for their touch up, which is an absolute essential and also another form of creating potential income. So, by setting policies, consultation, and post service care, you're going to set a mindset of excellence for your clients. Keep in mind, people pay for emotion, security, and here you are setting up yourself as a professional. Now let's explore various pricing strategies tailored specifically for aspiring PMU artists. From understanding your costs to positioning yourself in the market, we'll cover all the essential principles to help you establish fair and competitive pricing for your services. We also recommend some resources, and I would highly recommend reading some literature on this because pricing is more of a psychology based strategy in the beauty industry. So, first, let's talk about understanding your costs. And this is where I highly recommend breaking down all your expenses, everything that has gone into your business as a startup cost. Before you set your prices for your services, it is essential to have a clear understanding of your expenses. This includes not only the cost of the material and equipment, but also the overhead expenses such as rent, utilities, insurance, and marketing. Track your expenses on a monthly and ongoing basis. So once you have a figure that is your fixed cost, and then the ones that are variable costs. So fixed costs is something like rent, overhead, utilities, cell phone, marketing, insurance. Those are something that's fixed. It's a fixed bill that comes to you every month. And the variable is usually things that are ad hoc. For example, you decided to go to a conference. The cost of that conference is a business expense, or you decided to take your staff out for dinner if you have a staff, or if you have bought lunch during your work hours and decided not to bring work food from home. That is your variable expense. So I need you to have two separate sheets where you have your fixed expenses every month and your variable expenses. The variable expense could also be any training, could also be buying clothes for your work. If you bought a new pair of scrubs or you bought shoes, that's your variable expense. So I need you to have two separate sheets. Now for your fixed costs, if you have it on a monthly basis, I need you to, for example, if you have a fixed cost of $500 a month, and then multiply that 500 by 12, which will give you roughly about $6,000. Now, $6,000 is your yearly expense just to operate that business, and that's your fixed cost. Divide that fixed cost by 365, which is the number of days in a year. So if 6,000 is your cost divided by 365, that should give you about a $16 per day cost. So it takes you $16.50 per day to run a business operation. Now, if your cost is roughly $17 a day, your income should be at least twice as much, because that is what you need to take home as a healthy paycheck. And this is $16 multiplied by 2 or $17 multiplied by 2. So you need to make $34 a day to be profitable. Now, mind you, I've not added taxes in this. So if you add taxes, that's another, depending on where the state you live in, that's about 40% more. So roughly about, you have to make a time and a half more money than that $17. So you roughly have to make $50 a day to be profitable. And that's how you understand your pricing. So if you are in a place where your cost is higher, your fixed cost is higher, your prices should be higher as well. Because if it's not, then you are definitely losing money. So track on your monthly expenses on an ongoing basis, multiply that with 12, which is the 12 months, and divide by 365. This math will give you your daily expense. To be profitable and derive a livable paycheck, you need to make 2 times more than that. This will help you set your cost. I would not recommend Groupons or any other super discounted deals at this point, so that your expense is higher and your income is lower, because this is how most businesses go under. As a new permanent makeup artist, it can be very tempting to underprice your service to attract clients. However, it's crucial to value your time, skills, and expertise appropriately. Consider factors such as your level of training, the quality of your work, and the demand of the service when you're determining your prices. Do your market research and find the price that fits your area to be very competitive. So, what I usually do, and Google helps me at that point, is I find the highest price in the market and the lowest one as well. I definitely don't want to be on the lower track, but I want to be somewhere higher. So I usually try to be on that medium range where I can be affordable for a lot, but at the same time, I'm not undercutting my own self. So do your market research and find the price that fits your area, because some areas are expensive. So your rent's going to be higher, your insurance going to be higher, your utilities are going to be higher. So you want to find the pricing that fits your area. There is a book that I would highly recommend to read on this one, and that's called Priceless: The Myth of Fair Value and How to Take Advantage of It by William Poundstone. William Poundstone also offers valuable insights on consumer psychology and pricing strategies that can help you position yourself effectively in the market. So, how people estimate numbers react to the same thing in different ways depending on how you present it. And that is a true fact. Pricing is all about the psychology that's created. Here, you're already creating an image of a professional by adhering to your salon policies, service consultation, and post care process. So, asking for competitive pricing should not be a hesitation. And I do not think that when you are starting off, if you say, I'm not much experienced and I'm just starting off, let me get the prices low. I think if you start doing that, it will be really hard for you to bring those prices up higher. What I normally suggest is start higher, however, give some discounts initially. So it seems like a package deal. It seems like a deal to a customer, and people love deals. Hey, the deal is starting off from this date to this date. Give a specific time frame so that when people want to book, they book that particular deal, and then you can keep your prices the same. So, for example, if you want to start off at, say, $500 for your eyebrows, and initially want to bring it down to 300, you only limit it to 10 people, and those 10 people get $300 worth of the service. So there will be a lot of people trying to sign up. And that's what I would recommend, is positioning yourself as a professional, adhering to your salon policies, service consultation, post-care process, and asking for competitive pricing. That should not be a hesitation on your end. So you have set your value, and this, my friend, is a value-based business. Permanent makeup industry, any beauty industry, is a value-based business. It's a psychology-based business. People buy on emotion. People buy on understanding. People buy on value of things. I also get asked often if a touch-up should be included in the initial session. And there's a lot of artists who do that, which is nothing wrong with that. If you want to charge a client the entire price upfront, it's totally up to you. However, I have found that I feel clients are happier if they have two steps of payments. So initially, how I phrase it is to my clients that your first visit is a focus visit, which means I will focus on the shape, color, and initial process. When you go home, your body will heal the pigment, and 80% of the times it will get lighter, which is a good thing. But in 5 to 6 weeks, I will need to see you again. And that session, I call it a perfection visit. You may be one of the lucky ones that don't need a touch up, but if you do, there will be a charge. For example, I charge $500 for eyebrows. I will charge $400 for the first session and $100 for touch up. If the client is not back in 5 to 6 weeks and they're back in 15 weeks, the touch up is $150. So guess what? The client will be back to complete the procedure. But if I charge the entire process up front and then the client is back in 8 weeks or 12 weeks, I am going to do a lot of work at that point to bring that back to life. At this point, I am leaving it up to the client that they can pay me $100 when they come back in 6 weeks, or they can pay me $150 when they come back in 15 weeks. Or if they come back in 6 months, then I have to do the process all over again. So the client makes sure that they're able to get in 5 weeks and they pay that $100. I have charged them $500, but in 2 visits. And this also is a strategy to keep the cash flow going, because as a permanent makeup artist, you usually see a client twice in a year. So you're probably looking at some cash flow, and the cash flow like this keeps going. So first initial deposit, then I charge them the remaining balance, and then I charge them for a touch up. My cash flow is continuously coming in. And this is something that I would highly recommend acquiring. Another effective pricing strategy for new perma makeup artists is creating packages and bundles. Offering bundled services can incentivize clients to book multiple sessions or try additional treatments, increasing your average transaction value and maximizing your revenue. If you are just a brow artist and you want to do more, maybe add brow threading or add brow shaping, designing, or if you've added lip blushing to your menu as well, package all those services together. And I think by packaging them, you are able to get more from a client. The other strategy I usually acquire is I give my clients cards and I say, send me 5 people and I will give you a touch up for free, which also incentivizes them to bring their friends and family members. And that's another way that I will also increase my revenue. So pricing strategy, again, is something very personal, but at the same time, it's all played upon psychology. It is an art, it's a strategy, it's a science. So I recommend really reading this book, The Strategy and Tactics of Pricing, A Guide to Profitable Decision Making by Thomas T. Nagel and George Muller, for practical tips on implementing packaging pricing and optimizing your price structure for profitability. One of the things that I like to add on my menu is a disclaimer at the bottom that says pricing may be subject to increase. And that has led me to be able to increase my prices over the years. Since cost of living, inflation, and everything keeps increasing and going up, prices also need to go up. My landlord increases rent every year about 3 to 5%, and that's a standard. So as a artist, if we do not increase our prices, we are hurting ourselves in the long run. So imagine if the cost of living is increasing and your pricing strategy is not increasing, then you're basically cutting down your profit margin every year. So year by year, you are almost ready to be out of business because you're reducing your profit margins. So to make sure that your profits are steady and always growing, it's essential to revisit and reevaluate your pricing strategy every year. I'm not saying that every year you need to increase your prices, but there's always room for somewhere or the other where you can add extra dollars to your paycheck. My dear, we have covered a lot of ground today. From understanding the costs of setting your value and creating packages and bundles. Remember, pricing is both an art and a science, and finding the right balance takes time and experimentation. I am going to be back soon with a brand new episode. on the PMU podcast. So don't be afraid to let your light shine bright. Join me next time for more adventures, more discoveries, and more moments of pure enchantment. Until then, my friend, stay fierce, keep slaying, my darling. Mwah.